So welcome everybody. This is our Bug Fall 2021 kickoff. So I'm very happy to be here with all of you tonight. It's September 22nd. It's our first night. Our theme for the speaker series is project engineering, tricks of the trade. And so tonight we have a good lineup here. We've got Sophie from Bluebeam here, and we've got Nick Campbell from Leadcore Group, and we have our Bluebeam bug user leaders here that are going to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about how we integrate bug into project engineering, and then we have a fun game at the end. So I look forward to sharing with all of you these new tips and tricks for project engineering. So I'm going to turn it over to Sophie. So maybe I'm just trying to think. There's quite a few people in here. So I think what we'll do is just maybe introduce the speakers. You guys can introduce yourself really quick here, and then we'll introduce the bug leaders as we move on through the evening so we can get started. So welcome, Sophie, and I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. It's so nice to see so many faces, familiar, but mostly new, which is really great. My name's Sophie Max. I'm the academic specialist here at Bluebeam. I'm based out of Chicago, and you'll hear a little bit more about our academic program in a little bit. So I won't say too much now, but one of the kind of parts of my job is to help user groups like Fresno State's at different schools, and to kind of help foster those user groups. So really excited to be here tonight, and Fresno State just truly does a fantastic job with their student bug. So really looking forward to this semester, and especially the theme of this semester. I think it'll be really fun. So Nick, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Sophie. My name's Nicholas Campbell. I work for Leadcore Construction, a division of Leadcore Group. I've been in the industry for about 8.5 to 9 years. Started as an intern right out of high school, actually. So yeah, I'm excited to share with you guys. I've been a bug user group member for the San Diego area for about 2 years now. I think it started, it'd be like 3 years now. And I've presented at a few of the Bluebeam conferences as well. So longtime Bluebeam user. I actually rode it right in from high school. So it's just rode the technology train the whole way through. Thanks.
That's awesome, Nick. I didn't know that you came in, right from high school with that either Bluebeam knowledge or just, construction technology under your hat. So
just knew what I was wanted to do, and always good with the computers, and we say born with the chip, right? Where it's just it comes really easy. So kind of rode that, and yeah. Perfect.
Let's see, Christy, what's the where do we want to jump from here? Oh, you're on mute.
So maybe I'll just do a quick introduction, and then we can go ahead and start your presentation, Sophie. So for those that don't know me, I am the Bluebeam user group faculty advisor at Cal State University, Fresno. And I teach a lot of the project controls classes. And in those classes, we often use Bluebeam as well as other software such as Procore, Revit, SketchUp, Microsoft Project. I'm actually an expert user of Oracle P6, which we're hoping to get connected with. So I'm kind of a jack of all trades with technology as well. So it's good to It's good to see all of you. I'm just curious here. Do we have anybody? I know an invite was sent out to BYU Idaho. Do we have any folks here from BYU Idaho? Most of the people I recognize from Cal State Fresno, but I was just curious. I did send an invite, so we'll just see throughout the evening. Sometimes they'll pop in. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to turn it over to Sophie, and I think that I put it on multiple sharing, so you should be able to share there, Sophie.
Yeah, sounds good. Did the student leaders want to introduce themselves first, or
let's just wait? Yeah, let's wait until we get to that point in the presentation.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. So here, I'll share my screen in 1 second. So tonight I'm just going to kind of give you all a quick overview of Bluebeam, and then a kind of quick overview of the software. Actually, that'd be great if folks could put in the chat if you've ever used Bluebeam before, if you've heard of it, kind of what your familiarity level is. That would be really great. Anyone?
Anyone?
Sorry, I'm gonna go ahead and speak because I am driving, but I have used it while working with querying.
Awesome.
Good.
Thanks, Ray. And yeah, if anyone wants to unmute themselves, please feel free to do so. Wait, let's see here. All right, you guys can see my screen?
Yes, everything
Okay.
looks good, Sophie.
Awesome. So it sounds like we've got a couple folks who have heard of it, a couple folks who have used it before. So that's awesome. So just a quick kind of overview of Bluebeam itself. As I mentioned, I'm Sophie Max. I'm the academic specialist here at Bluebeam, and I've been with Bluebeam now for almost 3.5 years. So I do not come from industry, but my knowledge of the industry has grown immensely in the last couple of years. And I really love working with the kind of academic side. It's really fun. So at Bluebeam, kind of our mission is to empower people to advance the way that our world is built. And Bluebeam Review is our flagship product. It's a PDF markup and collaboration tool that's designed specifically for the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. And that's really why we're here, right? So we know that this industry is extremely document intensive. So that's really kind of why we're here as a company, is to create intuitive PDF-based digital markup and collaboration solutions that are going to help drive the industry forward. And, okay, you might be thinking, well, great, it's a PDF-based software solution, but how does that kind of help to empower people to advance the way that our world is built? Well, we know that, we know the importance of communicating with all project team members across teams and about critical documents. We know that every day our customers come to their jobs looking to constantly increase project productivity and reduce the risk of errors. So this is really where we come in, and Bluebeam is seeking to address some of these primary pain points in the AEC industry. So the first one, that we're kind of seeking to address is the fragmented industry through Bluebeam Studio, which is our document management and real-time collaboration solution. So this is really giving project teams a chance to collaborate. And the second kind of pain point we see is having siloed information. So we're trying to address that through integration. So this is really helping you share information across technology solutions, right? I think as an industry and as a world, that's the direction we're going in, right? Is integration, having different technology solutions talk to each other, and have these solutions be more integrated. Oops. And then lastly, trying to address the pain point of undefined processes and standards through PDF standards. So just simply through being a PDF based software solution. So the PDF is a universal file format, which means that this file format is a standard. It has standards across the world. So, you know, when you have an entire project team using the PDF as that single source of truth, you have a much happier and efficient project team, whether that's a local team, a team across the US, or a team across the globe. And then a little bit about Bluebeam. The company was founded in Pasadena, California in 2002. And as the industry has grown, so have we. So we now have over 2 million users across 130 different countries. We have 36 different Bluebeam user groups. Of course, Fresno State. And then as Nick mentioned, there's one not too far away, well, a bit far away, but in San Diego, and a couple of others in California as well. And, you know, to kind of give you a little context to Bluebeam user groups, for those of you who, you know, may not be so familiar, the kind of core goal or core mission of Bluebeam user groups is to unite regional professionals across the industry to discuss industry-related best practices, to learn tips and tricks, and to discuss trends in the industry as well. So that's kind of the baseline purpose of these bugs, and we've have 36 bugs around the world actually at this point. So then lastly, kind of as you can see, Bluebeam has a really wide reach with 99% of top US contractors. And this number has changed recently. It used to be 96% of top US contractors. It's gone up a bit. So 99% of top US contractors now using Bluebeam Review, and then 86% of top US design firms using Bluebeam Review as well. And this next slide, you know, kind of going off of those last statistics, I like to show you this slide just to give you an idea of some of the larger firms that we work with. And we don't just work with large firms, we actually mostly work with small and medium-sized businesses as well, but these tend to be some of the big names that we all know or have heard of. And this is really just to give you a sense of the likelihood that you'll be encountering Bluebeam at some point in your career, whether that's, you know, now in school, whether that's in an internship or in a job after you graduate. So that's really why we as an academic program are here. It's to give you all the tools and the opportunity to really learn the technology that'll help you succeed both now in school, but into your careers as well. And then just to kind of give you a little case study to show you how some of these solutions are actually put into action. You know, this case study is about Barton Mallow on their Daytona International Speedway project. And this kind of just highlights that despite working on a compressed timeline, by implementing Bluebeam Review, they were able to deliver the project on time and on budget. So they did this by standardizing on review across the contractor, designer, the owner, and the trades for real-time reviews and universal document access and management. So pretty big, really quite a huge project, especially given that the Daytona International Speedway was in use as the project was happening. But by implementing a review and kind of creating the standardization, they were able to reduce the project timeline by 20% and win repeat business with the owner. And then lastly, just kind of another little overview of our academic program. So, you know, of course, the student bugs are a part of it. In addition, we also offer free licenses of Bluebeam Review Extreme to students and educators and schools. We also offer, you know, webinars for classes. There's free training videos and webinars that you can access online at bluebeam.com. And then, of course, these user groups as well. So feel free to write to us with any questions. And I can put that email in the chat as well. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the software, and this will be quite quick because we have a much more fun and interesting presentation from Nick. So I don't want to take up too much time, but we can always come back to the software, and we can always, you know, if you have questions about specific things, we can absolutely go into more detail. So just kind of a quick overview. I'm going to start up here in the upper left-hand corner. And under this, you know, up at the top, we have your kind of standard drop-down menus. So under this review drop-down is where you can come to, you know, look up more information about your license, where you can register and unregister the software. Under file is where you can come to open a new PDF, or where you can come to open a document from your computer. And you can also open a new PDF here as well. These kind of drop downs here are a bit standard across different applications. This document drop down, you'll be able to see that, you know, a lot of these are, you know, not highlighted right now. That's because I don't have a document open at the moment. But this document drop down is where you can come to use different tools, such as the compare documents tool and the overlay pages tool. So these compare two different versions of a drawing. The overlay pages tool is kind of like a digital light table, so putting the two revisions right on top of each other. And then right below that, you'll see this OCR tool. And I always like to point this out, especially to students. OCR stands for optical character recognition. And basically what it allows you to do is turn a PDF that was scanned in, it turns that PDF into a readable kind of live breathing PDF. So, you know, if you're given a reading, for example, that was scanned in and you're not able to kind of use the search function on it, you can run OCR and it'll turn that document into a document that you can search on. So super helpful. And then,
Sorry, I have a question.
Oh yeah,
quick.
go for it.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
So, you know how you could use like looping to search words when you have a document pulled up, like how you said right now, like a PDF.
Mm-hmm.
We use what was it, ORC? I think you said.
Yeah, OCR.
OCR, sorry. And so, because I have a PDF, I was trying to like search words on. I have to use the OCR for me to be able to search words on it.
No, so you don't have to use it. So there are kind of two different types of PDFs. There's a raster PDF and a vector PDF. And one type of PDF, which is kind of created, you know, on the computer, like think about it, you know, kind of converting something from BIM and saving that as a PDF. That PDF is going to kind of automatically be searchable. But, you know, if you ever have like scanned, you know, a paper document, if you scan that into the computer, when it scans in as a PDF. And so that kind of scanned version essentially is not searchable. So OCR basically allows you to turn a PDF that was scanned into the computer into something that that you can search. So, you know, whether that's, you know, plans that were kind of printed on paper and then those plans are kind of scanned back into the computer, and those, you know, happen to be the ones that you're going off of for a project. Or I like to always give the example of if you're in school and a, you know, professor has scanned in a reading, maybe they've got, you know, the textbook or the book itself and are kind of scanning in the reading for you. That's when you can kind of turn that type of document into something you can search as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's pretty much when like a document is scanned.
Yeah, essentially. I know I would have really liked to have that tool when I was in college personally, which is why I like to point it out.
Yeah, it comes in handy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. So then kind of going down these tools, this batch drop down is, I like to point this out because it's only available in the extreme edition of the software. And that's the version that we offer for free to students and educators. This tools drop down is where you can find your markup tools as well as your measurement tools, which we can talk about in a second. And then this help drop down is where you can come and search for tools. You can check for in-app updates. You can access technical support right from the software here. And then if you click on this launch review tutorials, it opens up a number of tutorials for you to watch that are based on different workflows. So if we click on this quantity takeoff, for example, and hit next, we're going to be given this page that comes up with a little kind of introductory video to how to use Bluebeam Review for takeoffs. And then you will also kind of get access to a sample takeoff kind of floor plan. So there's a number of different options here available to you, which is really great. And then you'll see that my screen automatically kind of split in half when I open that up. Your screen can split up to 16 times, although I don't think we'll be needing that tonight. But to unsplit it, I can either kind of X out from one of the windows, or if I come down here to this kind of full screen icon in the bottom left, that'll unsplit the screen for me. So for now, we'll go ahead and just continue to look at a couple of the tools here. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. I thought my computer froze for a second. So then on the left hand or on the right hand side here, excuse me, you also, we'll see that a number of these tools have opened up here and are available to me. These are all customizable. You can move these around. And then in the bottom left-hand corner here, this gives you access to your markups list. So your markups list is a kind of dynamic Excel type of document that allows you to track all of your markup data on a document. I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick because my computer keeps freezing. And
maybe Sophie, when you get back to sharing again, you can show them how that markups list actually opens.
yeah, absolutely.
I call it the bottom drawer, but it's
Yes.
the markups list.
We'll show you how it opens up from the bottom drawer. That's a favorite saying around here.
Yeah.
Let's see. I haven't restarted my computer in a couple days now, which usually, does the trick to freeze everything.
I can see it now. It looks okay.
Awesome. So actually, I'll go ahead and open up that quantity takeoff tutorial again. And you, like I said, you can see, these different kind of workflows here. The one that you won't see is scheduling. Usually review isn't used for scheduling. But in this case, we've got a really great kind of sample takeoff floor plan here. And actually, maybe this is what's freezing it. Interesting. Oh, now my Zoom is frozen. Okay, well, in the meantime, if anyone has any questions, now's a great time for some questions. But, hopefully as I'm going through some of these tools, you can kind of start to see, how Bluebeam is used and why it's used as a kind of PDF markup and collaboration tool. And from here, so I've opened up a different floor plan here, and now we'll go ahead and open up this markups list here, otherwise lovingly referred to as the bottom drawer. And like I was saying, the markups list is this kind of dynamic Excel type of document that tracks all of your markup data. So you can see here that we've got all of these different columns. All of these columns are customizable, which is really helpful because you can actually export this markups list. So, if you are doing a takeoff in review, you can customize these columns to then be able to export this markups list into a CSV file, so into Excel, and kind of have all of that data for you right there and ready to go. And one example I always like to use is if you kind of look down here at these this flooring category. So right now I have my markups list sorted by subject. So this is just kind of one example of the way that you can use the markups list and really your markups to collect data, which I think is a really important point. I think that's really one of the powerful tools of the software is using Bluebeam to collect data. So if we go into this markup here, we can see that here we've got some area measurements from this conference room. And on the left-hand side here, this is called your panel access. And we've got a number of different tools here, which I'll show you in a second. But one of them is the properties panel. So the properties panel opens up different properties for your markups. And in this one in particular, you can see I've got this markup selected. And this is where you can really start to add some of that important data. So you can change that subject from, area measurement to flooring. So you can say, okay, well, why are we, why am I placing this markup here? Or what's the purpose of it? Why am I taking this measurement? You can add that subject in here that it's you're measuring flooring, and then you can kind of take that one step further by adding in a label. So what type of flooring? Well, we've got carpet. And then as that relates to the markups list is then when you come down here to the markups list, well, you can see you have all of your flooring here in one spot. And if we sort that even further by label, because we have different types of carpeting listed here, we can see that, we've got several different markups. So several different rooms that are going to need that carpet 3. And then if we come over here to these columns, which are length and area, we can see pretty quickly that the total square footage of that carpet 3 material that we'll be needing. So hopefully you can kind of see why it's helpful and important to start to add this data to your markups, especially to your measurements, because then when we export this markups list to Excel, we've already got all of this information there and available to us. And in the long term, it's really going to help to save us some time. So that was kind of a longer overview of the markups list. And then lastly, I just wanted to point out here on the left-hand side, you have different tools available to you. So on the left-hand side here is Bluebeam Studio, which is our document management and real-time collaboration solution. And I can show you quickly what it looks like. And I think that you all might be going into Studio a little bit more down the road in some future presentations. But Bluebeam Studio is made up of kind of 2 components. So one is Studio Sessions, which is your real-time collaboration solution. So this is where you can be marking up a document in real time with your project partners, or I kind of always like to talk about it for class, especially for those of you who are still taking classes virtually for a group project or whatever it is. If you're on a project team where people are not in the same office, really helpful to be able to kind of all collaborate on documents together in real time. And then on the left here is Studio Projects. So your projects is your kind of document management and storage system. You can think of that as being closer to Google Drive or SharePoint. So this is a place where you can kind of store and share your files of any file type. So this is just one example of a project that I've created, and this is a great place to kind of house those documents and use these documents as your single source of truth that everyone on your project team is working off of. And then as we kind of go up the side here, this is your search tool. You've got access to your measurement tools here on the left-hand side. And then up here, you've got your properties. So, both of these kind of relate to your markups. Your tool chest here is where you can store tools so that they're readily available to you. So if you know you're going to be using certain tools a lot throughout, a project, you can actually store that tool for you to use here for easy reuse. And then here we've got just kind of a couple of other different tools for you as well. We've got your spaces and layers tools, bookmarks, which this isn't unfortunately a full set, but your bookmarks and your thumbnails tools allow you to kind of flip through a big set quickly. And that is kind of a basic in-depth overview of the software. I will point out your markup and measurement tools here again. So here are your markup tools that you've got a lot of different options available to you. And then probably a little more relevant to you all are your measurement tools. So you can take a lot of different types of measurements off of your document. One thing to note is it's really important to set your scale. So just to kind of quickly show what that looks like, when you set your scale, if you already know what the scale is for either an entire document set or even for a page, you can type that in here. But I think the easiest way to do that is to calibrate your scale. And so that is simply just selecting 2 points of a known dimension from your document itself. And then once you've calibrated your scale, then you're all set to take measurements from on your document, and you can have confidence that they're all accurate. So again, make sure to calibrate your scales when you're taking any measurements. So I think that's about it. If there are any questions, either now or later, we can of course come back to any of these tools. But I think for now, I'll turn it back over to either Christy or the students or Nick.
So I'll jump in here. So I posted in the chat, if you and Sophie, you can add on to this, I would highly recommend that you take a look at Bluebeam's website. They provide a lot of videos and webinars under the, I believe it's the resources tab, right? Mm-hmm. Sophie, and they walk you through the basics of Bluebeam. So if you have never used Bluebeam before, that's like a great resource. It covers some of the things that we go over to in depth here in a lot of our little speaker series that we go throughout the academic year. Okay, so I highly recommend that.
Yeah, I'm going to put the link in the chat. And just to note, these videos are, 2 to 5 minutes, so really quick.
Right.
And easy to go through.
So maybe we'll just segue for a couple of minutes, since we have most people here right now, is just tell you a little bit about the student user groups. I know Nick is a part of a professional user group. Our group is actually a combination of professional and a student user group. But it's housed at Cal State University, Fresno. So we're one of the main user groups that's very active. There's other ones that are semi-active at BYU Idaho. I know CSU Long Beach is wanting to start one. I know at one point Cal Poly, I think, had one going, but they're pretty new, and ours is very active. It's been active now probably for about 4 years. So over the years, we've had a lot of great students that have been involved and that really go out and get great internships because they know Bluebeam really, really well. So I would encourage you to continue to come to our speaker series and to be a part of our group. And so I wanted to take just a little bit of time to introduce the folks here that are our bug leaders. So maybe we could just do this popcorn style and you could introduce yourself. So Liza, why don't you just state your name and maybe what year you are and why you got yourself involved in bug leadership.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Liza Soriano. This is my 5th year at Fresno State and hopefully my last year. I've been involved with the bug group for about 2 years now, and I originally joined because, well, first of all, there were a lot of assignments in my CM20 class with Christy that required it, but also I realized that apparently a lot of general contractors were using this program and it was one of the industry standard programs. So I just thought, the more I get acquainted with it, the better it will be. And so far, yeah, I've used it a lot. I've had 3 internships and I've used Bluebeam in each and every single one of them extensively. And yeah, that's why I've been involved with the group now. Yeah, that's me. I'm gonna pass it on to Jose Gutierrez, our president for SIC.
Thank you, Liza. So like you said, I'm Jose Gutierrez. I'm also the president for SIC. So if anybody's interested in joining a club, let me know. But I'm a senior, and the reason I joined the bug group is because I want to learn as much as possible about Bluebeam. And turns out that you actually use Bluebeam a lot in the industry. And I've also interned 3 times already, and I'm currently interning with Granite Construction. And we use Bluebeam a lot. Like, you'll be surprised. It's like the #1 software that they use.
Well, that's good to know, Jose, because sometimes most of the building companies use Bluebeam, and it's nice to hear that there's a heavy civil contractor that's using it. So that's good. Yeah. Javier, why don't you go next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Javier. I actually was hesitant to join the Bluebeam. I know Christy, I told her I want to join, but do I want to join? And I'm glad I joined. This is the first year that I've attended since the beginning. Last semester, I attended halfway through, and I wish I would have attended from the beginning as well. And I'm a senior here at Fresno State. I'm actually on my 6th year. I transferred over from civil, and I'm also glad I did that. But yeah, as far as Bluebeam, I've dealt with it so much, and it's kind of, sometimes it's fun to do it. Definitely for the CM150 class that you guys are eventually going to take, it's a fun experience to use Bluebeam and learn how to use it properly and stuff like that.
Well, good, Javier. Okay, so Jared, why don't you go next? I don't know if your internet's working well, but if not, I can introduce you.
Okay, let's give this a shot.
Uh-oh, you got some.
Student for in my 4th year, hoping to graduate soon.
Hey, Jared, your internet's not working that great. So why don't I introduce you? So Jared is new to the bug leadership team. I think he said it was his 4th year in the program. And so he actually, so he actually comes with quite a bit of experience using Bluebeam. He's worked out in the industry, and he's working for New England Sheet Metal right now. So we're very happy to have him on our team. So that's a little bit about Jared. Sorry about your internet there, Jared. I know you sometimes. Yes. Not now. You're good. I got you.
You got me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So let's move on to, let's see who haven't I, Michaela, why don't you go next?
Hi, everybody. My name is Michaela. This is actually my 1st year in the Bluebeam user group. I'm a senior at Fresno State, hoping to graduate in the spring. I've actually been using Bluebeam for about 3 years, and I actually use it every day on my internship right now. I'm currently with Desert Mechanical up at Table Mountain, and we use it for everything. And I actually use it in all my classes. and it's very helpful.
That's great, Michaela. I think, you can't be afraid to use Bluebeam. You just got to get in there and use it. And so it's nice to hear that you're using it so much in all your classes and everything. So that's great. Jaime, why don't you go next?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm a fourth year. I switched over from civil engineering into construction management. I first started using Bluebeam in my CM20 course with Christy. And then I didn't join Bug until just this year, but I did join like one of the speakers last semester, I think it was, and that's kind of what hooked me in. I didn't notice that Bluebeam was used so much until after I started applying to a lot of internships, especially the one that I just got last summer. And they were actually glad to hear that I had a good amount of, or some experience with Bluebeam in classes, and that I was planning on joining the Bug group. So yeah, I would definitely recommend trying to stay on board, and I'm planning to stay on board for the next year or two and learn as much as I can.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Jamie. Well, it looks like I covered everybody that's here. I don't, as far as our leadership team. So I think, if any of you are interested, we typically do our, invitations to join the leadership team in the winter. And so if any of you are interested and are going to be here for, a year or so, please reach out to any of us. You can reach out to me. We'd be happy to consider having you on the team. It's a great opportunity for social interaction, as well as just learning a lot more in a deeper way, both in estimating and scheduling and just whether it's Bluebeam or other software in general. But I would say as a team, we tend to kind of really connect and get to know one another. So it's really a great opportunity to learn a lot more about your classes and such. So we highly recommend joining us if you're interested here in the winter. So I think we'll go ahead and stop there. We'll talk about what's coming up. Maybe after Nick talks, we'll take a little break after he talks, but I would like to introduce Nick now. So Nick, I don't know if you're ready to go, but we're going to segue into you. So I think it's on multiple sharing. You should be able to share your screen. So
Perfect.
Nick is, I just want to, while he's getting ready here, he's a senior project engineer at Ledcor Group. Ledcor is a Canadian company, so I guess you'd consider it international. So they do a variety of different things. I wasn't as familiar with Ledcor until I met Nick and looked at his LinkedIn profile and such. So I'm very excited. They sound like they do a lot of interesting and different things, and I think you guys are going to learn a lot from him in terms of project engineering. So I'm going to segue into you, Nick, so you can take it from there.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you guys for having me. Good to meet you all and see you all. To echo what a lot of people have said who are interning and things like that with different contractors and throughout the spectrum, there is Bluebeam is used one heck of a lot, right? And coming in students, it's all about technology. What technology if you have a little bit under your belt, take a class in Revit, right? Preach that kind of stuff up, because it's assumed you guys will be very computer literate and using certain programs, and especially the industry-wide ones. If you don't get it from your GCs or your general contractors, you'll get it from your subs. If you don't get it from your subs and your GCs, you'll get it from your architect. Someone in the chain of a project will definitely be pushing for this and using it a lot. So also some of the training things, or when you're participating in these groups and you see some stuff that may be a little bit overwhelming at the time or something, just know that Bluebeam could do that, right? And then when you start working or you're interning or something, I remember Bluebeam had something like this, and then go to that help setting within Bluebeam, and all those tutorials and walkthroughs are great. When I was learning Bluebeam, when it actually, like a few years after it came out, maybe like 3 to 4 years, 2 to 3, somewhere in there, it was all YouTube videos from just average Joes, working on the program, teaching you. So it's come a long way as far as the training and all different learning styles. So another thing, just before I get started here, is try to identify your learning style as soon as possible. It's something that's definitely helped me. Whether that's in-person training, whether that's self-paced training, those kind of learning styles for yourself. So when you go work for somebody and they tell you, oh, I need you to learn Primavera P6, I need you to learn this, and you don't have those skills, you can know quickly and efficiently how to learn that type of stuff. It's helped me tremendously. Christy, I'm gonna need to take your scheduling class. It's the only thing I don't have under my belt. Usually with our superintendents, so I need to learn that one.
Yeah, we usually offer professional development classes and scheduling, so we'll have to hook up maybe after and connect you.
All right. Are you guys able to see that presentation on the screen with the
Yes, it looks fine, Nick. Great.
All right. So as said, I'm a senior project engineer with the Ledcor group of companies, specifically Ledcor Construction, which is an offshoot of that. But the Ledcor group is primarily up in Canada. We're the one of the largest construction, civil, mining groups in Canada. Very diversified, and we're all working through there. So as you can see in the top image is the mining, getting down here into building, infrastructure, communications is a big one. And then we've got some tugboat stuff with the tailings from the wood mills, along with some forestry and some infrastructure freeway kind of things. And oil and gas, which in Canada there's a place called oil sands where they get a lot of their oil from fracking, unfortunately. The good news for the environment is that's drastically gotten cut down over the last like 5 years. And then just sustainable design. They're doing a lot of that new timber projects. Forget what it's called, but it's just like really large treated lumber. They're doing a school up there in Vancouver Island. So very diversified company. It's across most of the major provinces in Canada, which kind of like their states are all sectioned up there. And then this just kind of shows the breadth of Ledcor here. Got it all written down here because there's quite a few of them. But building and construction, communications, environmental, forestry, infrastructure, mining, oil and gas, power, properties, and transportation. So yeah, they own their own fleets of airplanes for working with the miners, and a lot of this stuff is how Ledcor developed. We're actually about to hit our 70th anniversary here in 1 to 2 months, and it's just they were doing a lot of mining, and then they decided, oh, we need to fly our miners around for a holiday or when they get off work. Okay, we'll buy some planes. Okay, then they develop an aviation group, and it's just kind of snowballed from there, right? They've been working across all the major industries. Our major home base is in Vancouver, Canada, and we were really big in construction down here, but it just wasn't profitable through there. We did a lot of projects in Napa, a lot of projects in San Diego, of course, and then in Texas, we've done a couple in Hawaii, a couple in Puerto Rico. So it's just kind of sprinkling around, and now they've mostly moved up into Canada, unfortunately. I'm actually one of the last employees for the U.S. For the construction arm, unfortunately. But yeah, that's Ledcor as a whole, quite a big group. I'm currently trying to get into the properties division because they're still staying down here in the States and doing more of the owner type work where, I would be working as the owner's representative and getting a general contractor on board and subbing out a project. Okay. So as a project engineer doing a bunch of projects, the next couple slides are all the projects that I've done here in San Diego, Southern California. but I just wanted to kind of show you guys that, you know, project engineering is a lot of document control, safety control, right? All of this gathering all that paper or whatever it is, hopefully it scans, and putting it in and keeping it organized, right? Doing meeting minutes, making sure you highlight, you know, certain items, just kind of learning the quirks of your upper management and how to accommodate them when they need it. It will be assumed that you guys are real heavy into technology, even if you've never seen it before, right? I've been pushed into some like 360 photo stuff that's been new on the block here, and just I go home and Google it and figure it out, right? Because it's you know, I'm going to figure out a lot faster than some of the others that would be doing it. But a lot of it's administrative and record keeping functions. So that's review, distribution of documentation, right? So, you know, someone sends you an RFI or request for information. You're going to go ahead and mark up that document, make sure it's for the plans, find any plans that are there. Sometimes correcting, you know, some Spanglish in there, or correcting someone who isn't asking the question in the proper way. So you have to kind of add to it, subtract from it, different things. Putting in a bunch of plan sheets, supplemental plan sheets to illustrate the point is a big one. Talking about what plans are in there. Same with submittals, right? You're going through checking the spec book, which is on a project. I'm from the GC side, so you can kind of see a lot of these are GC oriented. And then preparation of correspondence and meeting minutes, whether that's from your OAC, your owner, architect, and construction meeting or constructors meeting, which is just, you know, typically once a week, once every 2 weeks, everyone gets together and talks about the big issues with the project, whether that's on a city level or inspection level, architect level, whatever it is, just to make sure the projects keep moving forward. The maintenance of the files, logs, drawings, specifications, submittals, and RFIs. That's the bulk of it. And every company is different how they log it, right? A lot of it's starting to get online, which is great to see. And a lot of it's automated too. So when I first started, you know, before Bluebeam, I was doing the big plan sheets, 30 by 40 or whatever it is, and, you know, slip sheeting them together. The hardest thing is standing them up and getting them all in the same, you know, putting them all together and getting them flat and level. It's pretty tough, but luckily most of those days are gone. And next is facilitating the tracking of project milestones, right? So creation and maintaining a project schedule, updating a baseline schedule, right? A lot of those, I know a few of those little tricks, like I was saying before, but definitely need a whole holistic approach to scheduling and learn. And some companies do it different, right? There's a couple who are more like reactive scheduling, is what we call it in LEDCore, and some others where they track delays and milestones. And, you know, you need to get those basic ideas down, and that's a big one. Scheduling's a big one to learn there. All right. So talking about like my first project with LEDCore, I was actually an intern on this. So this is a Carlsbad First Responder Training Facility in Carlsbad, California. And what it is those two buildings there are prop buildings. One is a residential, one is most of commercial. And they set them on fire and run firemen through them, and you know, play with some hoses and teach people how to put out a fire. There's a couple of metal cars that are just kind of car facade things that they kind of roll out onto the streets there. And because smoke machines are in there, and it's just a big training facility. Second image here is where their classrooms are, and over here on the far right there is I think it's a 50-yard shooting range, and then they have a 25-yard shooting range. So again, just a big practice area for first responders, you know, how to do what's needed for their job, right? Prepping them. Okay. Later on in my career, this is skipping a few years, but this is student housing for Cal State San Marcos. This was it's with Seabreeze Companies, and they've blown out this whole area. If some of you are incoming freshmen or something, and you looked at some Cal State San Marcos, they've done a lot of work in that area to build up that school. Fairly new school as well. My wife actually used to work there quite a bit. But this one was a large student housing project. And the next photo here, we've got kind of their pool house. And this one was a really interesting project because we had a lot of lay down room. So let's say that this project was probably around like 2 to 3 acres for the project, and I had like 20 acres of lay down room, which is really nice for storing materials, storing tractors and items like that. But some really nice high-end units for the students there at Cal State San Marcos. Shortly after that, I got put downtown San Diego in Little Italy sector, which is not the most, it's definitely a downtown feel, but it's not, where it's all high rises, right? So you've got a lot of low-lying buildings. This one's more of a mid-rise with 4 stories down below. And a bunch of just really high-end units going in there. A lot of marble countertops, marble showers, it's just putting in those high-end finishes. The biggest unique part of this project was the 0 property line. So we were on the property line, very contentious building situation. So I'll show you this. This is the hole from digging it out. And you can see here, we're on the property line. So the owner of this building here actually owned this one as well. And he was always fighting with us for everything. He was not a happy neighbor. But I really enjoy this type of construction because developing the hoarding plans within Bluebeam, there's ways where, we had to put out where our site trailer was, right? We had to put out how we're gonna put on this crane, right? And you can draw those things on Bluebeam, build a box. There's a couple of other tools out there that'll help you bring in these things that actually look like a concrete washout, look like a crane that other people have built that you can drag in there, scale it, and make sure it works. So you can kind of figure out how you want to put in your pieces before they go in. Quickly, I want to say that this crane right here was called a luffing crane, and it's just a very unique style where it's not a traditional long arm crane. It's more of a straight up and down. I'm not exactly sure on the degree of the angle, but quite a unique looking crane there that's not typically seen a lot. Quite an interesting project here. Again, 4 stories down below, and then going up 6 or 7 stories above. That was a lot of fun. Probably a 2-year project. A lot of good coffee shops and pizza and stuff like that were real close. That made it pretty nice. This one is actually shortly below. So this one I went to right after that one because this one was struggling. But we actually built this large building here called Ammo with a food court below. And then this one is Vici, which is more of the affordable housing because a lot of state regulations and things like that for developers. They've got to build affordable housing units with new units and a lot of that to really help the community. So they've got their building here, and all of this is parking garage below with stick frame above. Wood frame, quite notoriously for being hard to work with, but very cheap to work with. And then the paseo we put in, we actually took out the street there and put in a big paseo there. Parking garage goes across both and under the paseo. So this was a very unique project. I came in it during its final year, just pulling it across the board for a lot with the City of San Diego inspections, finals, and closing out some things, mostly with our window cleaning, as you can imagine. Getting these windows cleaned from, they call it a boatsman's chair, or certain ways where it's literally a string thrown over a wall with a plank on it, just like, old-timey movies of guys, picking stuff off a ship. It's quite interesting. Still in use today. This is just a daytime shot looking below. This is a really high-end kind of a breakfast brunch restaurant. These windows actually break in the middle, if you can see my cursor there, and they fold up in kind of like an odd accordion style, which is pretty neat. A couple restaurants below, and just a big community center down there in Little Italy. Farmers markets here on Saturday. Definitely worth it. And then shortly after that, that's kind of like when our office had closed down. And they pulled me up into Canada to work on a Costco in Calgary, which was a drastic difference. Going to 40-degree below weather is quite interesting. Luckily, they were good enough to outfit me with all that cold gear. But yeah, this was a very interesting project. Costco's notoriously go very quickly. We're talking 8 months to build a whole Costco, and 8 months is like the end of that 8th month is opening day operation, right? So it's very fast-paced. Schedule is very very meticulously put together. And then the ground and the snow and everything, right? You've got to do all your excavations in the summer or the fall, so that the ground is soft enough to work with, and then hopefully you have your canopy up by the snow. Drastically easier down here in some of the warmer states, of course, but you know, went off really well. This project is also on First Nations land. It's the second that I'm aware of. The first one is actually somewhere down here in the southwest U.S. But this is the second one overall, working with the First Nations reservation. It was pretty neat situation. And then the last project, one I'm currently working on, I'm actually under NDA on, so I can't show you anything that is not accessible to the public. So here's a Google Maps shot of a project, and it is actually a private home. The individual bought out 2 lots and demolished them in brand new construction there on the shores of La Jolla. Quite a unique house, very big statement, and the finishes are very high end. It's quite a unique piece to be working on there. What's notable about this is there's a little blue line here that seems out of place. That was actually a self-directing crane, which are used for really tight areas. Again, you know, your blue beam will help you organize this out when you're doing your hoarding plans. But it's just, you know, showing how tight it is and how it works. But quite a unique experience. I'm again used to building bigger projects and high rises, mid rises, and this was definitely a unique piece to get the chance to work on.
So Nick, we had a question here. Jose might not have seen this. This is a private residence, Jose, and so you probably have like a non-disclosure agreement or something on it that he can't tell us what it is. But these, I know myself, Nick, I do a lot of in project controls. I work with a lot of companies up in Napa that build resorts and high-end luxury type homes. And what's interesting about this, if any of you are interested, is that a lot of these homes are almost like having a huge commercial project. They're so big that it's like having a very high-end commercial project. So it's a very interesting area to get involved in. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes the clients can be very high maintenance at times, but it's tends to be a bit more on the artistic side of our construction industry.
Yeah. So actually our owner, him and his brother had worked on Leadcore with their father, but his brother actually broke off and works in Napa. He comes out, he's got a winery down there. Poetry is one of their brands. And they do a lot of work, but that actually started a construction arm in Napa. And we've done a lot of the high-end wineries and a lot of the high-end homes there. I wasn't able to work on any of those, but exactly like Christy was saying, our mechanical room is so structured down there. And if any of you are into that, you know, you like that all the pipes going in, painted pipes, and everything going in a very systematic way. It's gorgeous, man. I wish I could set up my office in that area. It is one of the coolest spots I've been to. All in floor heating. It's some really cool things. And with the city, a lot of it's you have to be very clear. Are you holding us to the residential standard, or are you holding us to a commercial standard? And sometimes it'll be different. Insurance is odd too, where you'll be held to more of a commercial standard for insurance, which is a lot of like regulating water when you're not there, regulating temperatures, smoke detectors, and in odd placements. I have a smoke detector in every single room and every single hallway in this house. It is quite ridiculous, but no one can even smoke in that house. It's very, very unique. But yeah, this has been a great project. It's got one of the best views if I were to flip that camera around, and quite a great project to work on. But that's actually my project I'm currently working on, and we'll see where the career takes me from here. The next slide here, let's see if I want to hop there yet.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you that might, maybe you could explain this, because I've experienced this when I was doing like field engineering and project engineering. But when you're, a lot of the projects that you've done have been more like either mixed use or like housing type projects. Do you think as a project engineer, and maybe friends that you've worked with too, is that you kind of get a niche and then you get hired for that niche, or you get sent around in a company for that particular niche that you're doing? I say that because out of school, I did a lot of prison work, and I actually had to make the decisive decision to get out of that. Even though I like that type of work, it's very interesting. Mm-hmm. I did not want to make it that my career. And so sometimes in project engineering, you have to make a conscious choice to maybe work in a place for 3 to 5 years, and then look at like, okay, if this is what I'm going to be doing, do I want to continue doing it, or do I want to jump to somewhere else?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I was really focused when I started on doing what product type I wanted to work in. Talking tilt up, we're talking mid-rise, high-rise. There's a bunch of different product types out of there. And just to how it happened, there was just no consistency there. I find that I really miss mid-rise, that really tight area, because of how hectic it is, and because of how tomorrow will be totally different because a neighbor is upset, right? And and certain things like that. But you have to be very conscious of that for sure. Mine is technology. I didn't recognize it at the beginning, but it's just like anything new coming through, or any new product that they're going to test or something, would come across my desk. It came with some benefits. It also came with some drawbacks. Between a lot of these projects, I actually worked for the corporate side in Vancouver, doing a lot of training, doing a lot of rewriting our operations manual, and doing a lot of either videos or we call them quick reference guides. So again, catering to the different learning styles. So I've really just been all over this, and it's been a very conscious decision to, hey, I want to get out of construction and move to the more operations side, so I can help other projects be fruitful and set them up for success. Or, okay, I'm starting to lose my touch on reality a little bit. I'm too much in the paper writing things. I want to move back to, in this case, doing that Costco in Calgary. So it's just, you're kind of hopping around. But if you're on a project, or they put you on something like a tilt up, one of my second project was a tilt up in Carlsbad, and that's where they build the concrete panels or wall panels on the floor, and then tilt them up with a crawler crane, and put them upright, and you kind of build that box really quickly. And kind of moving from that, I didn't like that. It was a great project, really cool with the metal deck and the concrete floors, and That was for Viasat, who does a lot of satellites and data processing and things like that. So it was cool to kind of get my feet wet in there. But definitely experiment with whatever you're doing, and just because it doesn't align with what project you're on, just don't let it snowball into more and more. Oh, you were on once, you can do more. Just to be open and honest. I always tell our interns when they come in, use the company as much as they're using you, right? You'll hear a lot of these guys, especially as interns, oh, their interns are hourly, just make them do it, right? Or, oh, they're when you move up to salary, right? They'll be like, oh, we have unlimited hours on you, and just draw those balances and make that work. But also go out there for continuing education credits, go out there for joining CSUF and SWIP, all these certifications that'll help you either build your relationship within the company, or be perspective when you do decide to move on or try a different route there. And don't be just limited to one. If you do work at a GC and you want to see what the owner's side is like, develop those relationships, right? Relationships are keen. A lot of times we have with interns is just they always want to email or kind of do we call them impersonal, but it's just pick up the phone, develop those relationships with the subs, make the mistakes. They'll be happy to walk you through and teach you stuff. Ask the questions too is another thing I always tell my interns, is just make sure you guys ask questions. You're at that stage where you have questions and we are acceptable to them. I used to look up a lot of things. One of the biggest ones was the soffit, right? I had an inspection. They're like, okay, the inspector's coming by. I'm going to lunch, walk soffits. And I'm like, bro, what the heck is a soffit? Yeah, so I had to Google.
Or a bullard. Like, what is a bullard?
There's a lot of weird ones where you're just like, come again? Like, especially down here in Southern California, retention basins for stormwater. There's a lot of new developments in that, and I actually just got sent a project for constructability review out of Vancouver, and it's just a completely different building style, and just so many things where 9 years into this, I'm lost, man. Like I don't understand how it works, and you just educate yourself, ask the questions for the guys. They get a lot more water up there, so the balcony slope is different, and all these type of things.
Well, and I'm hearing you say a few things, Nick, and one that stands out is that don't be passive, be assertive, make sure you're asking questions, make sure, you are in charge of your own destiny. And so, you don't want to come off obviously as arrogant or egotistical, but you also need to gain confidence so that you're not afraid to ask the questions, or you're not afraid, to share what you like, so it's about becoming yourself when you're a project engineer, because you're growing in an industry where you're a project engineer and you're meant to explore and learn new things, but that's like the formation for the rest of your career. So you don't want to get stuck doing something you really hate to do. You need to be assertive and move if you need to.
And definitely like a personality. I've worked with a couple people where they just no personality at all, right? And even interns in that room, but the ones that do have a personality who are trying to learn, we see that. We notice that, hey, they're asking questions, they're wanting to learn this, they're diving into something, or they're filling holes even. Some superintendents will and like age differences too, where they'll just gravitate toward, oh, you're able to help me out with the computer stuff, with the phone stuff. It's very, it's a nice niche to be there. Once you develop that and you kind of get in with the company, then you can work on kind of weaning it off and making sure that they learn what they need to. But yeah, this technology stuff is very helpful for just getting the project, keeping the project moving, cutting down if you have a lot of work or a lot of things on your plate, looking for different technologies. And even I've gone into some JavaScripting on the computer, where it just helps with efficiencies and frees up my time. They're wondering why certain individuals have so much more time than others, even though they've got more or the same workload. It's all efficiencies, all random efficiencies you can find. Again, being that tech savvy. Gone are the days where you can come in just knowing construction. Now you have to know construction and at least have dabbled in a lot of this technology pieces, and even learning new technologies to bring it to them. Like the 360 cameras are really great because you're able to take a picture every week, every month, whatever it is, and then you can backtrack if you need to look for backing in the wall for hanging TVs, right? Backing is typically a sheet of plywood. Sometimes I've seen it some metal, and it's behind the drywall, but you don't know where it's at once the drywall is put on. So you take those pictures, and they can help you measure and figure out where those pieces are, so you get your screws to sink in there. But yeah, I just definitely want to encourage you guys to, number one, be yourself, ask a bunch of questions, and really be at this stage where everyone knows you don't know it all, and you don't trick yourself into thinking you know all of it, right? You ask the questions every single day you can, even if you know the answer, right? You're trying to show your eagerness to learn, and they will definitely reward that. All right, moving on to the next slide. Just wanted to touch on the generational divide, because construction is a very unique spot in the labor pool right now. So a lot of our the older generation who's built a lot of projects, they're actually trying to retain the heck out of those individuals because they know so much about the construction industry. A lot of them are superintendents. A lot of them are construction managers even, just for their information on the different details on waterproofing, what they've seen in the past and things like that. This was just a generic slide I put on there. Everyone always talks about the generations, but they never really put the age groups in there. So I put the age groups in there for this year, just to solidify that, because I need that whenever I look at it. And just the very stigmatic kind of strengths there and everything. But I just really want to illustrate that, two generations here, it's assumed you know technology, right? When I explain this to others and things, I'm like, it's no different than your parents asking you all the time, hey, plug in the printer, right? It's just that, but from different people. I'm working with a superintendent right now who is the exact age of my grandfather and is literally a carbon copy. And so it's very funny to see the difference there and to work with that. Everyone, and then you've got management styles, and you've got just different styles of workability within that group. But as the baby boomers and a bit of the Generation X just start to filter out of it, we're starting to get a lot younger generations in there. So I know that the Generation X and the Xennials are really looking for their moment to shine. They've been kind of hidden out because of all the baby boomers that are still working, still in the industry. So they're really eager to move into those much higher roles. We're talking like CEOs and kind of things. But I think our generations, I'll say I'm in the last two, but it's just looking for technology, right? That it's just assumed you will know this. Computers, even if you're going as a superintendent and you think, oh, I'm going to be out in the dirt and everything. No, bro, you'll be doing dailies. I guarantee you'll be doing the dailies, which is just, it's on the phone, right? Also, don't forget that there's efficiencies there. I tell our superintendents all the time about talk to text, whether that's using Siri or a lot of these other programs. You can speak your daily. I personally, I do not spell very well at all. Like, that is my biggest problem. And so, doing a lot of that talk to text, doing a lot of the Grammarly kind of thing with my emails, all of these little things are helping me look a lot better than I would be without the computer. So I just, encourage you to find those little pieces that you learn in school, and even bring them on to the next ones, or to use in your career there. But yeah, just the biggest thing with this kind of generational divide is, the technology piece. You get hired, first question and biggest assumption will be, you could work anything with a screen on it. And yeah, I encourage you to learn whatever program you can. Find a way if you're good at watching YouTube all the time. That's personally what works really well for me. Watching a few different tutorials on that. There's a bunch of good like architecture and construction channels out there. Bluebeam is actually partnered with one of the bigger ones that just talks about like construction as a whole and big projects and things that are really neat. But yeah, it's quite an interesting industry here.
And Nick, maybe you could talk a little bit, just briefly about how when you go into these different projects, and say you're working with the baby boomer superintendent that knows sequencing, and he knows how to build stuff, but he knows nothing about computers. How do you bridge that gap? Because I know for me, I have a project controls business, and so I have to be really careful, because a lot of them are very nervous about they're very nervous about showing their inability to use computers. So and they're very adept at picking up on arrogance, I would say. So it's like walking the fine line of like being open to learning what they know, and also helping them with things that it's like a fine line there. So that's where the soft relational skills sometimes work. I don't know if you've had that same experience or not.
No, I've definitely had that, and I've definitely made the mistakes multiple times. When explaining technology, I tend to freeze up because it's so simple and second nature to me. So I've kind of had to really work on that, right? Like when someone's, using a conference room computer versus their own computer, and they log in using their credentials, why aren't my files here? I'm like, bro, it's not your computer. Why would there be files, right? It's just like knowing how to explain that, and obviously not like I just did, right? So they don't pick up on that. But yeah, they're definitely different. But one of the senior superintendents I have, we just had a really good relationship that just kind of came naturally. He leaned on me for technology. I leaned on him for constructability. It's just you develop those partnerships, and they're mutually beneficial. Because when I started with him, I'm like, okay, man, Bluebeam was a big piece in that relationship where I just told him, hey man, we're going to draw a box, right? So we drew a box, he played with that for a couple of days. Okay, we're going to color it, we're going to add it. And within that first week and a half, he sent me a detail with over 200 boxes in it. And what he was doing was he was trying to illustrate a detail where sand compaction and things, but typically how sand is denoted on plans is, there'll be a box, right? And it's sand, but it has a bunch of little tiny boxes in there to show all the granules and show the different types of sand. Well, he individually put little boxes in each of those to denote the sand. And it's just, okay, like you're getting ahead of yourself. I can show you how to make this way faster. But he spent over an hour and a half just building this little detail to show how much he's learned this little program. And it just kind of builds from there, right? Building those relationships and finding that out where, you find someone who you just work really well with, and you can kind of ask questions and he can ask you questions. Just building those relationships are really nice. And others who just don't want that, and they don't want to show you that they can't work it or don't want to, you just have to find out how that'll work.
You have to grow the skill of patience.
Yeah. Patience is a big one. So I do a lot of the trainings, right? For review. Bluebeam specifically kind of wrote the book and did the training for all of LEDCorp, and then did a lot with the operations manual. And people don't like change. That's another thing you're going to have to work with. I encourage you to try and work with that and learn how you react to change, and see if you can get more on that the edge of it. The faster the adoption, the more the higher ups notice, the more the people who are pushing this out notice, and it just kind of helps your career. All these little pieces where yeah, you might be good at construction, but if you're not good at embracing technology, or you're not good with working with others, or you only work with this two individuals, right? It's one plus and three negatives, right? So you just want to kind of get a bunch of these under your belt there. But yeah, just working with this, and a lot of it with my superintendents is what I'll do is I'll talk with them and I'll drive, we call it driving, on the computer, on the conference room or whatever it is. Oh, Nick, I'm talking about room 21A. Go into 21A and draw a box, draw some pretty pictures, and just kind of color things in, annotate stuff. Always make fun of my spelling on that, but I go back and fix it later. You know how you work. They know how you work, and you know how they work, and you accommodate. Again, filling holes, right? Just would really encourage that. But again, getting back to the slide here is just review in the workplace. Again, as we've already said throughout the whole thing, could have really covered this slide, is reviews used everywhere. It's honestly, review, Bluebeam, a few different stages there, right? Review is the free product. Then you have Bluebeam, Review Bluebeam, and Review Extreme, and then you have CAD. I haven't seen a lot of people using CAD. I know that a couple of our BIM professionals will use CAD, but Extreme, please use that Extreme as much as you can as a student. It'll get you hooked, and Extreme just drives that hook deeper and deeper. It's really great. Talking about the optical character recognition, or OCR. I deal a lot with that with people when we get our perforated sets, which means it's been approved by the city, it's stamped, it's got some funny little holes in it that donate the perf set. It just means they're approved by the city, and they will scan those in sometimes, and obviously they won't be rendered within the plans. So you'll look at it and you can tell that the word says line of vehicular with a quad rail. And you and I know that because we know words, right, in our brains and all that, but the computer doesn't know. It thinks it's a blank piece of paper. So optical character recognition comes in and puts ink down on each of those items. They call it ink, right? It's all computer magic, right? But then you can go through and highlight it, and the computer will understand, oh, these are words. Oh, this is a symbol. And it's a way to do that on the computer. Now, I have a lot of issues with the vector enabled PDF, which you usually get from your architect. So these are sheets that are PDFs, but they're sent directly from Revit. They're sent directly from AutoCAD, not so much anymore, but you know what I mean. They're coming directly from the architect. There's certain settings in there that if they don't have them enabled, that the PDF won't be smart, right? It won't have all of that built in for, it could tell the word, it could tell the toilet symbol, it can tell the ADA symbol, or the little ADA guy in a wheelchair there. But Bluebeam's got a great search functionality, back to what we were talking about earlier in the class today, or the bug meeting, is you can search for just a toilet and it'll show you everywhere on the plan where there's a toilet for counts, right? Same with windows. If you have a window type in there, you can take a little square of that and search the whole PDF for those things. I've worked with a lot of the architects and stuff when the project first starts to make sure that the PDFs are rendered correctly, so I can do that when I need to. But the OCR has come miles since I've been using it. Zeros and O's were always a notorious piece there, and it's just worked really well. And I just encourage you guys to jump headfirst into this and almost any other technology you have, and just get a feel for it. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know it. You just have to know it better than the people that the company you're going into, and they will assume you're the expert, right? You just call it wizardry, right? It's black magic. You do it, and it seems really, like, even today, I got plan sheets, and I named the plan sheets per the page number, the page name. That way, instead of page 1 through 42, 142 in this case, it was actually A101 or title sheet, right? And it actually put that in the just in Bluebeam, and he was just like, "How'd you do that?" And it took me literally 2 minutes, and it's just it's very easy. Let me show you, and you use it as a teaching part, and it just really goes a long way to show little pieces of it, right? And just don't let it go to your head. That's the only thing. Okay, but this is pretty much just finishing up here, just reviewing the workplace, trying to hit all the different areas there. Here at LEDCore, we primarily use it for document organization. So doing a lot of stacking of documents and your Bluebeam sets is what they're called. It's a great piece, and it's just kind of what LEDCore has built upon. And it's just a way to slip sheet all the sheets, all these markups that you can see here on the screen here, the oranges and the reds and the purples and everything will actually be brought up to that next sheet when you slip sheet it. There's a couple settings in there you have to make sure are right, but man, when it works, it's taking all that work you did on the previous sheet and putting it on the next one, right? Stamping the other one superseded. It's some really cool and very helpful stuff that saves so much time. The superintendents can open it on their iPads, right? And then just all the drawings, right? The line tool also can be turned into like a fence post, something to kind of illustrate that. It's very helpful. Clouds can also be tweaked to look at different things. I saw someone do an actual architect at our last bug meeting down here in San Diego. Encourage you guys to join too. I'll throw a plug in there for it's called Sandy Bug, but just San Diego bug. But yeah, it's just an architect. He built little models of things that look like little people, right? They're all circles and squares and lines. Like you can do anything on a small scale, zoom out, and it looks a lot different. And just throw them in, put them in your little toolbox there on the left, and you can drag it and throw it in there. Very helpful. That kind of wraps it up, Christy. Is there anything else you wanted to?
Well, I would like to see you guys as students. Do you have any questions for Nick? So Jose has a question here. What was your most challenging project and how did you overcome that challenge? That's his first question.
Yeah. For the most challenging, I've had a lot of projects. I wouldn't say that they're very challenging in terms of like mentally. There's some that are emotionally challenging. So the house that I'm on now, older superintendent, he's worked for the person building that house, done all of them, right? He's done most of them. He's got a really good relationship with that person who obviously has money, gets away with a lot of stuff. Verbal abuse. We're talking like not a good professional setting, right? And I've had to stand my ground. Scary as hell, right? It's like scary. And I like literally have to bite my tongue. I'm worried about my job when I walk out, but he's done some things where I'm just like, I'm taking the day off. Like maybe I'll see you tomorrow. It's just like, I will not put up with this as, another human on the earth. It's just kind of getting that. A lot of your relationships will be better because it's more of a professional and corporate environment, right? But this situation was very challenging mentally. I took over for someone who actually had passed away. So anyone coming into that situation would be, equated to that person and things like that. So it's more of that emotionally and kind of tacked on. I knew a lot more with Bluebeam and a lot more in the San Diego County. A lot of those guys on that project are all Canadians, right? They don't know this market. They don't know how this city works, right? And that really helps, even staying in one city. So you have those relationships with your inspectors, your plan reviewers, and things like that. It's very, very beneficial for that. So we put in our windows back in 2018. In San Diego County, all of our windows and exterior curtain walls are deferred submittals, which means that the city needs to review the calculations and make sure life and safety kind of things and approve them. I got those approved last week, man, and they were installed in 2018. Like, it's just no one ever thought, oh, no, we'll put it off. And it's like, man, that's not how it works. So that would have affected us getting our C of O, which is certificate of occupancy, for the city, right? Our owner wouldn't be able to move in. A lot of people say, oh, we'll just move in, whatever, and that's a lot of times what causes a lot of problems, and a lot of fees will get tacked on there, especially permit fees, keeping your permits rolling. This project has been over 6 years, right? It's due to client changes. It's due to a lot of factors there, and doing a very high-end product, but very unique situation on this one. And you combine all those with the stress of people really pushing on you to, well, why isn't this done? It's like, bro, that was my predecessor 3 years ago. What are you talking about? I would say this is my most challenging, just because I'm nervous about what I'm going to do next, right? If the company's moved out of the country, the U.S. and all up in Canada, they're offered to get me up there, but it's not enticing enough, right? And I miss the sun. We love it down here. And then just kind of like the mental thing, and you just kind of stand up for yourself once, it doesn't happen again, kind of a thing. Involve the right people. You don't blow it up too big, otherwise you get repercussions, but you blow it up enough to get where you need to go. But yeah, I would just definitely encourage you to work. I really doubt you guys will ever be in the same situation with this one, but it's just really important to know what your limits are, know what's your stress relief. That's another one coming in there. Yeah, that's the biggest one that I've identified. COVID's got a piece to it. The industry never stopped. Me personally, I went to the work the same day that everyone's told to work from home, right? So I have not had the day off, unfortunately, is what we call it. But yeah, it's been a very stressful one, and I just found mine is swimming, having my head underwater, doing some breath training and things like that really helps me decompress. So I would really encourage you to find what that is. So even if you have a slightly stressful thing, or you feel those shoulders getting tight and always resetting those shoulders, definitely find out what that is. It'll help you in school, it'll help you in life, it'll help you after, but finding out what relieves your stress and helps you move forward. It doesn't have to be the expensive stuff in retail therapy. There's other ways you can do that.
Good, Nick. So we have a few other questions here. So what's the biggest difference between working in the US to working in Canada? And I'll say San Diego versus Canada. I'll say the temperature, but you might have another answer.
Temperature is the biggest thing, but a lot of it's not that different, just different practices. They call things different, right? 3/4 wash rock, right? That's kind of like a rock you use for filling in. They call it oh crap, what do they call it? Something like dry something, where it's got nothing to do with the specification, right? And you're just like, what are you talking about? And that's another thing where you're comfortable in asking questions, right? Instead of being like, oh yeah, I'll get that ordered, and then you're Googling like, what the heck is this? And it's just a regional term that you won't find online, right? The biggest things that are different in Canada and the US are, you're going to hit the same differences working from here in San Francisco or here in a different city, even across, town lines, county lines. It's just the different things people call things, the different terms, the different practices. Up in Canada and Vancouver mostly, we get a lot of water. I've worked on a bunch of high rises down there, mostly remote plan review, organizing of data, and things like that. And just watching how much waterproofing they do. Their balconies are slanted like crazy, right? Over here, we're a little more flush, a minimal flashing. So, it's always going to be different. The weather plays in. Each province is different. I've worked on one project in Toronto, and same kind of thing. I mean, they work in the snow. A really funny thing that I found out of Vancouver is we get a lot of heat illness. They send out little flash reports, they call them, for safety. And they're like, oh, a guy passed out in like 75-degree weather, Fahrenheit, within Celsius. And we just always laugh, right? Because it's just like, what are you talking about? But here, when it rains, darn near when it sprinkles, everyone takes the day off. Everyone takes the day off. It'll be pouring out there. Guys are working while another guy's holding an umbrella. Like, it is wild what they do. And it's just different regions, right? You have to work through the rain there, otherwise you will never build a project. Down here, you have to work through the heat here. Otherwise you won't get it. And there's different ways, right? If it gets too excessive, 100, like they just hit, Vancouver just hit above 100 and I would say 13 or something. And I was in Joshua Tree a week before that. I was like, I was in the desert and I hit that temperature. Like, how are you hitting that temperature up there in the north, right? And they just learned, had a little piece of what we deal with every day, right? But yeah, they took the week off for that. Like, it was just a warm week, and they use their inclement weather days, which is what your contract will allow. And they just took those for that week because it was just too hot. People were passing. They don't know how to drink enough water. They're not accustomed to drinking enough water throughout the day. And again, it's just customs. It's just construction. What people are know how to work in.
Yeah, and the next question was there anything you wish you knew before you started working in these projects?
There always is, right? When you hit that big issue. So on that, we call it Palatine or 1810 State Street. Oh, that whole thing just went away.
That's okay.
So I tried to that one in Little Italy where it was really tight, right? We had one of our slabs they called slab curl, which PT cable. So you got a joint there where you would put those two slabs together and do a pour strip. But one of them started to leak, to bend down really far because of the tightening of the PT cables. And it's just, if only we left in our stands below from the two floors to hold the floor up, it wouldn't have curled that bad when we tensioned the PT cables. And you're like, man, if I could just go back a day and catch that. But the biggest thing is just technology, how to deal with people. Every project, most of the time for me, I've been on a new project team, so learning their management style as fast as I could, so I don't create unnecessary contentions. Right? I'm very I document everything. I've got a real trick way to do photos taken from the metadata of when the photo was taken, like some really cool stuff. And some people just don't like that documentation. You will be their worst enemy, being, hopefully don't say per my last email, but something of that effect of, hey man, this is what you told me to do. This is what I'm doing. And he'll get all up in arms about. The other people will be like, yep, sure, go ahead, and it's just kind of documentation wise. So to answer your question, is a lot of just working with other people and how to work with that group. As much, you go out to lunch before, right? When the project's first starting and there's no stress and there's no work to be done except plan reviews and things, get as much team interaction as you can to know who to go to with a question, to know who handles stress well in there. Some of these people in general, some of you, right? You're just not built for stress. Like, if genetics are wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one last question, maybe, or there's actually two rolled into one, and then maybe we'll wrap things up here. So what do you enjoy most about your job? And then if you could go back to yourself in college, what advice would you give somebody that's in college?
Yeah, so enjoy the most is the technology, documentation, and the data analytics. I'm really enjoying getting all the data from product data from our teams that have worked on a bunch of these projects. If we're using the same sub to identify how much, a project that'll be like that will cost again, right? If we're doing a darn near same project, we can get a lot of that, have a better accurate estimate. So I really enjoy that. So we call that kind of project analytics. It's getting a lot better, kind of prepping the projects for AI, right? Where you can start to see these trends and you can start to see if building in the summer versus building in the winter, how much more that'll cost. And then the last question here, funny enough, as I said, I started right out of high school. So I'm actually going to college, a community college here, and just taking classes, trying to get what I can where I need it. But the biggest thing, go back, is just, like I said before, and I tell our interns, is just ask questions, learning technology, right? That's the train I rode. I'm built for it. I'm the kind of guy that, if someone's having an issue with a meeting, I'll literally like stop it and be like, hey, let me show you how to fix that, right? Some people like it, some people don't, but it handles the issue and then it teaches everyone else in the meeting how to fix that, right? Bluebeam, I always mess with people because I'm like, oh, well, that toolbar is on the wrong side just because I like it on the other side, or they use the white Bluebeam instead of the black. Oh man, dark mode for life over here. So yeah, it's just little pieces. We're learning how to work with people, management styles. I came right out of high school, so I don't even have a lot of the communication skills that a lot of you will have. Working with each other and learning more about yourself and about others you work with.
Well, good, Nick. I would have never guessed that, but you do a fine job. So well, we really appreciate having you, Nick. I kind of went ahead and let you talk just because we don't often hear a lot of industry taking like an in-depth look at these things. So if any of you were disappointed that we didn't play Kahoot or quizzes, maybe we'll do another game next time instead. But I thought it was really important to just let you guys get to know Nick and for him to talk a little bit about project engineering. So hopefully all of you learned a lot from him and his experience. He's a senior project engineer now, so he's moved up. So we really enjoy having you, Nick, talk with the students tonight.
Yeah, and I wish we were still down here in the States because I would love to, be that pipeline for you guys. But please, reach out, LinkedIn, whatever, for resources. I'm happy to share some stuff, and I really enjoy this. I'm in charge of our interns and kind of helping assimilate them, and I just love sharing it. As you can tell, running late. Sorry about that.
We would love to have you again. So please consider it. We'll be back in touch, Sophie or I, for sure. One of the things that I just wanted to mention, maybe, and Sophie, if you have anything to wrap up as well, is that this is the kickoff to our speaker series. We're going to have about, I think it's 5 or 6 other speakers here throughout the semester, mobilization and site work. So this is a great segue into that. Here we'll be in the first week of October. Okay, so look for our flyers around campus because we would love to be able to have you join us again. I think having these kinds of in-depth talks is a great way for you guys to learn. So I really appreciate you guys spending the time tonight. And it looks like we have a lot of comments here. Nick, were you in a construction materials class at Mesa last semester? Gareth asked.
Yeah, so 9 years experience taking a construction and materials class because it's required.
Oh, you were in the same class, so Gareth and you were. Oh, so cool. Yeah. That's funny.
Small world.
Well, yeah, that's really because you're nowhere close to us, really, Nick. So that's good. Yeah. So
somewhere.
Yeah. So Sophie, I don't know if you fell asleep. It's late for you, but I don't know if you have anything else to say, but
I'm here. I'm awake. No, I mean, this was such a fantastic kickoff meeting. Nick, thank you so much. It was just so nice to hear about your experience. And I'm also really glad that this session was recorded because I think there were so many, great nuggets of wisdom that Nick shared. Everything from each, job experience being a bit different and difference in locations to, something that stood out to me a lot was the kind of, interpersonal skills, and that can go a really long way, especially in this industry where there is such a big generation gap. And I think that's always, working on those soft skills. I think we're all working on those all the time, but, something I think really for you all to keep in mind as well. But I don't have anything else to add. This was really great and really looking forward to kind of seeing where this series goes throughout the semester.
Yeah, so thank all of you for coming. And really, again, thank you so much, Nick. We really appreciate you. And Sophie, you're always willing to partner with us. So all of you guys will probably see both of them at some point again, hopefully. So I just wanted to say I really appreciate you guys sticking around for the whole time. So so look for our next speaker series topic coming out on October 6th. And I hope all of you have a great evening, and thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. I'll see you soon. Thanks again, Nick. Thanks, Sophie. See all the bug leaders. Bye.
Thank you all. Hope to see you again. See ya.
Okay, thanks so much, Nick. We'll definitely be in touch. See you guys.